Medlar is the medieval fruit that needed to rot before it could be eaten. Sounds gross? Actually, it's a process called bletting, where the fruit softens and sweetens after harvesting. Once bletted, it has the texture of applesauce and a flavour often compared to spiced dates or baked apples. Shakespeare called it open-arse fruit because, well, take a look. Medlars were a delicacy in Tudor England and often featured in pies and preserves. They also symbolised decay and time, making appearances in poetry and art. Looking like a lumpy apple and smelling like perfume, the quince was once more popular than apples themselves. Too tough and sour to eat raw, quinces were cooked into jellies and pastes like membrillo, still loved in Spain today. In medieval Europe, quince was also prized for its medicinal properties. It was believed to aid digestion, sweeten breath, and even strengthen the heart. Also known as Juneberries, these small blue-purple fruits taste like a mix of blueberries and almonds. They were often foraged by villagers and baked into rustic tarts. Their name may come from Appalachian funerals. Service berries bloomed when the ground thawed enough to hold burial services. Sloe berries are as medieval as chainmail. These tart fruits from the blackthorn tree were turned into syrups, vinegars, and the ancestor of modern sloe gin. People never ate them raw. They're far too astringent. Instead, they were steeped in alcohol or sweetened with honey to bring out their deep, plummy flavour. The cornelian cherry may look like a cranberry, but its taste is tangy and citrusy, like sour cherry and lime. Popular in Byzantine and Eastern European cuisines, this fruit was often made into jams, fermented drinks, and even pickled. Romans loved it too. Legions carried the tough wood for spears and the fruit for energy. Mulberries were so beloved in the Middle Ages, some monasteries cultivated them for their sweet juice and for silkworms, which feed exclusively on mulberry leaves. The black mulberry, in particular, was eaten fresh, dried, or turned into wine, and they stain everything, a symbol of fleeting beauty and often linked to ancient myths like Pyramus and Thisbe. Tiny, tangy, and electric red, barberries were prized for their zing. Used in medieval sauces and syrups, they also served medicinal purposes, especially for fevers. Though banned in some areas due to a link to wheat diseases, they remained popular in kitchens and gardens until forgotten by modern diets. Damsons are the dark horse of the plum family. Tart and tannic, they were perfect for stewing with meat, making jams and even flavouring ale. The name may trace back to Damascus, suggesting a long journey from the Middle East to the English orchard. Yes, jujubes are real fruit, not just chewy candy. Known as the Chinese date, they were brought to Europe via the Silk Road. Dried, they're chewy and date-like. Fresh, they're crisp and apple-like. Medieval herbalists valued them for calming the nerves and aiding sleep. The strawberry tree, or Arbutus unidu, was said to be eaten once because the taste was forgettable. But these fruits were fermented into wines and liqueurs by monks and foragers. It's one of the few fruits that ripens in autumn and blooms at the same time, making it a symbol of rebirth and duality. Rowan berries were more than food, they were magic. Medieval people believed the tree protected against witches and evil spirits. When cooked, the bitter berries made excellent jelly, often paired with game meats. In hard times, they were dried and ground into flour substitutes. Also called the wild service tree, this fruit tastes like dates and malt after bletting. Checker fruits were fermented into a kind of rustic cider or ale, and inns named the Chequers across Britain reference this very tree. They were so culturally tied to drinking that they lent their name to the Chancellor's residence, Chequers. And though many faded from our tables, they still grow in hedgerows and old gardens, waiting for curious minds to rediscover their taste. We've all heard of medieval meat pies and mead, but what about the vegetables that filled the tables of castles, monasteries, and peasant homes? Today we're looking into history to unearth 12 forgotten vegetables of the medieval world. Some were culinary staples, others medicinal marvels. All are rare in modern kitchens. Skirret, funny name, serious flavour. This sweet white root, with its mild taste reminiscent of carrot and parsnip, was a favourite in medieval kitchens. The name skirret comes from the Dutch suikerwortel, or sugar root, a nod to its natural sweetness. Boiled, roasted, or even fried in batter, skirret was considered a delicacy of the elite. Charlemagne reportedly demanded it in his royal gardens. It's a perennial too, meaning once planted, it fed people for years. With a name fit for royalty and a nickname of poor man's asparagus, Good King Henry was a reliable wild green. This plant was often foraged near homes and farms, leading it to be one of the earliest homegrown vegetables of Europe. Its young shoots were eaten like asparagus, while the mature leaves were cooked like spinach. Before celery ruled the kitchen, there was Alexander's. Grown by Romans and passed on through the medieval period, this bold, peppery herb flavoured everything from soups to salted fish. It was so popular that it was often planted along monastery walls, and nearly every part is edible: root, leaf, stem, and flower. Recognise the name rampion. You might know it as Rapunzel. Yes, that Rapunzel. In the fairy tale, her mother craved this plant so badly, she risked everything. That's because rampion's root is nutty and tender, and its leaves can be eaten raw or cooked. It was such a valuable salad plant that theft from noble gardens was not uncommon. Don't let the appearance fool you. Scortonera, also known as black salsify, has a creamy oyster-like flavour when cooked. Its name means viper's herb in Spanish, due to its supposed ability to treat snake bites. Once considered a cure for the plague, it was a prized root in both culinary and apothecary gardens. Blanched and buried in sand, sea kale shoots were a coastal treasure. This seaside vegetable was a staple in monastic gardens, especially in the British Isles. In Victorian times, it made a comeback and was considered a gourmet delicacy in Britain. What if you could eat your parsley from the bottom up? Parsley root is a forgotten cousin of the common herb, cultivated for its white, aromatic root. Used in broths, stews, and even sweet dishes, it had a parsley meets carrot flavour. Medieval cooks favoured it over carrots, in regions where orange carrots had yet to dominate the field. While we still eat turnips, the greens often go to waste, but in the medieval world, they were essential. Boiled, pickled, or sautéed with vinegar and spices, turnip tops were rich in nutrients and flavour. Turnip greens were so valued that crop rotation systems were designed in part to ensure their steady supply. Strong, savoury, and celery-like, lovage was the medieval MSG. Used to flavour broths, meats and sauces, it was also brewed into teas and digestive tonics. Monks planted it widely for both food and medicine. Think lettuce is just for salads? Meet cheltus, a variety grown for its crunchy, juicy stem. It was often peeled and stir-fried, and its mild, nutty flavour made it popular in Asia and parts of southern Europe. Though cheltus faded from European fields, it's still popular in Chinese cuisine today. With a taste like sweet chestnuts and parsnip, chervil root was a prized winter food. It was slow to grow but stored well, ideal for lean months in medieval climates. This root was so delicate in flavour that nobles reserved it for fine stews and feast day dishes. We still use the root to spice up our roasts, but in medieval times, horseradish leaves were just as important. Their peppery bite added kick to meat pies, sausages, and fresh salads. Beyond food, horseradish was thought to cure everything from scurvy to snake bites. Truly a hot commodity. From castle banquets to peasant stews, these vegetables once fed medieval Europe with flavour, variety, and vital nutrients.